Have you ever wondered what would happen if your favorite team of tech-savvy ninjas acquainted with fighting aliens, technologically advanced creatures, and expert combatants came across a ghost? Who are they gonna call for help? Well, you know the answer to this, the Ghostbusters, of course. Throughout their comic book run, the Turtles had a lot of memorable crossovers, including crossovers with Batman and the Power Rangers. But this crossover with the Ghostbusters remains a truly special one because of the impeccable storytelling and how it impacts both of their universes. This is the first crossover to have significant repercussions in both the storylines of the Ghostbusters and the TMNT. The TMNT and Ghostbusters crossover comics were released in a 4-issue miniseries published between October 2014 and January 2015, with 1 issue every month. This miniseries follows the Turtles who land in the Ghostbusters dimension and accidentally release the Chinese god of war upon their dimension. The story covers how the TMNT and Ghostbusters defeat this threat and interact with each other. And in today's video, we will dive deep into this mini-series and talk about what happened when Cowabunga met Who You Gonna Call. But before we get started with the video, we have a small request for you. If you like our content, subscribe to us and like this video. It might just be a simple click for you, but it means a lot to us. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started. Experiments Gone Wrong, a visit to the Ghostbusters dimension. This crossover comic starts with a flashback, where we are told that thousands of years ago, few immortals used to rule the world. But with time, the world has forgotten that these immortals really existed and started to think of them only as legends and myths. During the Muromachi period in Japan, Kitsune, one of the immortals, was performing a ritual to summon someone from a portal. But she was interrupted by the arrival of her brother, Chi-Yu, the Chinese god of war. Chi-Yu reminds Kitsune of their contract and reiterates that they can only use humans as their pawns. Chi-Yu then observes the Iron Demon emerge from the portal. At the sight of the Iron Demon, Chi-Yu lashes out at Kitsune for taking the help of demons. Chi-Yu transforms into his bull form and charges at Kitsune. But Kitsune is fast and pushes Chi-Yu into the portal. When the Iron Demon inquires about what will happen to Chi-Yu, Kitsune confirms that Chi-Yu is trapped between two worlds. Then the story returns to the present, where we see Raph, Don, Leo, Mike, Casey, and April at Harold's lab. Don has called his brothers to demonstrate a new device that he created with the help of Harold and April. Harold shows the device's function, which turns out to be an interdimensional teleportation device. They experiment with it by throwing an apple into the portal. The apple teleports and hits Casey in the head. Don asks his brothers to get inside the device and surprise Master Splinter by sneaking up on him from behind. But as all of them are about to be teleported, a fly starts irritating Harold. To hit that fly, Harold accidentally hits the switch that messes with their teleportation and they land in another dimension. Then we see they landed in New York, but in the wrong New York. They have been transported to the Ghostbusters dimension. In this dimension, we see Egon, Ray, Peter and Winston fight off a Class 5 ghost, and after they capture it, they are informed of some kind of breach in New York by Janine, the receptionist for the Ghostbusters. Then we see that the Turtles are transported to their church, but this time their church is not abandoned and they land during an ongoing wedding. They quickly realized that there was some problem and they landed in a different dimension. But before they can think of a way out, a mysterious creature forms in the air out of nowhere, revealing himself to be Chi-Yu, who is happy because he has been released after hundreds of years. He quickly discovers that his powers have grown exponentially and tries reaching his sister and other friends. But something is off and he can't reach out to them. The Turtles can't understand what this creature is rambling about because Chi-Yu speaks Chinese and they start attacking it. But they fail to land a single hit on this creature because this creature is a ghost. Chi-Yu is agitated by their attacks and thinks they are demons, so he starts possessing the people at the venue along with Casey. As soon as he does, he reads Casey's mind and realizes that he's in a different dimension and the turtles will try to stop him. So he sends his thralls to fight the turtles. Right about then, the Ghostbusters arrive at the scene and Peter is visibly frustrated and says he hates his job. Chi-Yu's evil plan. Let's take over the world. After noticing a ghost in the church, the Ghostbusters start firing at Chi-Yu with the help of their proton packs. When Chi-Yu asks the people he has possessed about the identity of the men firing at them, they all claim in unison that they are the Ghostbusters. Chi-Yu instantly realizes that this group of men is a threat to him, so he decides to retreat from the site with his thralls. Egon then notices the turtles and thinks of them as constructions from the ghost. So the Ghostbusters open fire at them, but Winston says they don't look like hostile creatures and goes up to them. This is when the turtles and the Ghostbusters interact for the first time. The turtles introduce themselves as mutants and tell them that the ghost they were fighting was Chi-Yu. Upon hearing the name, Ray instantly recognizes that he is the Chinese god of war. Egon then notices that their energy does not match their dimensional energy, and Dawn clears that they encountered a minor problem during their teleportation and landed here. Raph interrupts and says they must act quickly and save Casey from Chi-Yu. The Ghostbusters claim they could help them save their friend and invite the turtles to their headquarters to examine them further, and Dawn is excited to check out their equipment. Meanwhile, a short distance away, Chi-Yu realizes that since none of his brethren are present, it means their contract is void, and he devises a plan to rule over this dimension. Once he takes over the world, he'll use the interdimensional device created by the turtles to travel to other dimensions and conquer them too. But first, he needs to create an army, and the humans he is possessing right now are not suitable to be his warriors. So he decides to release all of them except Casey because he thinks he can be a warrior. Casey is strong and actively fights the control of Chi-Yu, but Chi-Yu beats him and reinforces his control, stating that he'll annihilate anyone who comes between his plans for world domination. Then we see that the turtles are at the headquarters of the Ghostbusters. Dawn is getting along very well with Egon and Ray, and all of them are science geeks. Dawn then starts arguing with Ray and Egon and demands a scientific explanation of ghosts, as he thinks ghosts don't exist and are just a hoax. Ray clarifies that life is merely energy, and after humans die, our energy just travels outside our body, which we call ghosts. Ray then escorts Dawn to the basement and shows him the Ghostbusters containment unit. In Midtown, we see a hockey playoff match between New York and Montreal, but suddenly Chi-Yu arrives at the site and starts taking over the players' bodies by turning them into monstrous creatures. He claims that this is the start of his army. Casey inquires why Chi-Yu didn't turn him into a monster, and Chi-Yu reveals that he plans to use him and coerce the turtles into giving him the interdimensional transportation device. At the Ghostbusters headquarters, Ray shows Dawn the containment device the Ghostbusters rely on to capture the ghosts. Ray then says they can work on a new teleportation device that the turtles can use to return home. Suddenly, Janine calls both teams and tells them that a ghost has attacked the ice hockey playoffs, and both the Ghostbusters and turtles realize that this is Chi-Yu's work. As the Ghostbusters prepare to leave, the turtles join them, but Egon suggests that they stay and build the teleportation device and they'll take care of this ghost, but the turtles claim that they can't just sit around while their friend is taken hostage. They need to go out there and save him. Egon also warns them that their time is only limited to 72 hours, and after that they won't be able to return to their dimension. Ray gets a spare proton pack for Dawn before they head out to hunt some ghosts. The team just got bigger. The Ghostbusters and TMNT team up. After hearing about Chi-Yu's attack on the hockey rink, the Ghostbusters, along with the turtles, head out in a customary RV to stop the assault of this enemy. As they reach the site, Dawn cannot control his excitement about using this new equipment and rushes out to see Chi-Yu attacking a player and turning him into a monster. Sensing the arrival of the Turtles and Ghostbusters, Chi-Yu sends his minions to attack them. Don attacks using the proton pack, but his aim is off, and it doesn't land on Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu starts mocking him, and Peter tells him it's not like a gun and more like a hose. So plant your feet and go easy on the trigger. Mickey and others fight the thralls and realize that Chi-Yu is moving slower than before. They theorize that this might be because he has used up a lot of energy by transforming these humans into monsters, and this is the perfect time to capture him. Winston sneaks up on Chi-Yu and tries to capture him with the help of a ghost trap. Chi-Yu starts getting sucked by the trap, but it stops midway. The Ghostbusters are shocked by it because it's rare that the trap behaves erratically. Casey then attacks Winston from behind and reveals that Chi-Yu is connected to the earthly realm with his minions, and as long as he's connected, it would be impossible to trap him. Thus, they need to devise a way to break this bond with his thralls. Saying this, he attacks Winston but says sorry because he is not in total control of his body. This deactivates the trap and Chi-Yu retreats with his thralls, warning the team that they'll regret it if they come in his way again. Back at Ghostbusters headquarters, they discuss how to detach Chi-Yu's connections with his thralls, and Dawn suggests that they should use their proton pack as a pulse rather than a stream. This might do the trick. So Dawn, Ray and Egon start working on a prototype and ask the others to rest. In Chinatown, Chi-Yu is pissed off at Casey and asks him how he can resist his control again and again. So Casey starts mocking him, claiming himself to be an innate fighter. This frustrates Chi-Yu and he swallows Casey. At the Ghostbusters lair, Janine receives a call from Chinatown and she immediately realizes that it's linked to Chi-Yu and informs the team about it. By then, Egon had successfully created prototypes to help sever the link between Chi-Yu and his thralls. Leo and Mike take the prototypes and instruct Dawn, Ray and Egon to work on the teleportation device and head out to Chinatown with Winston and Peter. In Chinatown, Chi-Yu and his thralls are ravaging the streets. Winston and Peter arrive and start blasting their proton pack on Chi-Yu, but Chi-Yu is unfazed. Leo, Mike and Raph use the proton pulse and begin turning the thralls into humans again. Realizing that they have learned his secret, Chi-Yu asks his thralls to retreat. Chi-Yu then pukes, and Casey emerges out of his puke, covered in ancient armor and a scythe. Casey then starts attacking the turtles. Raph asks Casey to fight back and return to his senses, but Casey doesn't respond to his requests, and Raph also starts attacking him. Their fight amuses Chi-Yu. As he is distracted, Peter takes this chance to hit Chi-Yu with a proton blast from a missile launcher. This gives Raph an opening, and he hits Casey with a proton pulse, and Casey reverts to his usual self. The proton blast erases Chi-Yu, and the turtles ask what happened. Peter says this is temporary and they should hurry back before Chi-Yu rematerializes again. At headquarters, Egon checks Casey for injuries or malfunctions, but everything appears normal. Winston then asks the turtle to leave as soon as the teleporter is ready because they have their teammate back now. But Leo is reluctant and says that the Ghostbusters don't have to deal with this threat alone, as they are the ones responsible for Chi-Yu coming into this dimension, and they should help defeat him. Dawn then suggests that by using an EMP-type device to break Chi-Yu's connection with his minions would be easier than using the proton pulse on each of them individually. Egon asks April to work on the EMP device with Ray while he and Dawn work on the teleporter. In Chinatown, we see Chi-Yu rematerialize again and realize that the turtles and the Ghostbusters are real threats and must be eradicated. He summons his thralls and announces that they are going to war. The fate of Chi-Yu, trapped for centuries again. We finally get to see the fate of Chi-Yu in the last issue of this mini-series crossover of TMNT and the Ghostbusters. After Peter disintegrates Chi-Yu temporarily, Chi-Yu decides to attack their headquarters. Back at the headquarters, the Turtles and the Ghostbusters are prepping themselves for the impending battle with Chi-Yu. Egon and Dawn are close to completing the teleporter, and April, Ray and Kylie are working on the EMP device that will sever Chi-Yu's connection with his thralls. The others, who are less technologically inclined, pass their time talking and bonding over similar experiences. Right about then, the Ghostbusters alarm goes off, revealing that Chi-Yu's minions are attacking the headquarters. The thralls start entering the building, so Leo, Mike and Raph take on the thralls and revert them to their human form with the help of the modified proton packs. Upstairs, Ray completes the EMP device and is about to turn it on, but Chi-Yu appears and interrupts him. While Chi-Yu is threatening them, Casey sneaks up behind him and turns on the EMP device, and all his thralls return to their human form. In the basement, Dawn and Egon discover that the Ghostbusters containment grid is malfunctioning because of Chi-Yu's presence, and Egon runs to fix it before it explodes. Upstairs, Chi-Yu is angry and frustrated because the Turtles and Ghostbusters are coming in his way, and he starts throwing them around, but Winston and Peter appear and restrain him with their proton packs. Leo throws a ghost trap to capture Chi-Yu, but Chi-Yu in his final moments drags Winston with him, and Peter yells at Leo to stop the trap before Winston also gets sucked in. Meanwhile, Egon successfully manages to stabilize the power grid. Upstairs, in the dark, Mickey inquires if Chi-Yu has been captured, but it appears that Chi-Yu has taken over Winston's body. He starts attacking the team, and none of them can handle his strength. Ray tries to hit Chi-Yu with some mood slime, the substance the Ghostbusters use to counter possessions, but Chi-Yu successfully evades it. While everyone is unsuccessful at beating Chi-Yu, Mickey asks Peter if they have any more mood slime, and he instructs that they have a tank stashed in their car. Mickey then returns with the mood slime and changes the tide of the battle by throwing the mood slime at Chi-Yu. This breaks his bond with Winston in half, and Raph lunges to attack Chi-Yu, which turns out to be a distraction because as soon as Winston is released from Chi-Yu, Peter lands a ghost trap under him and he is sucked inside it. The team celebrates their victory but realizes they don't have much time. Meanwhile, Egon and Dawn have finished building the teleporter, and a few moments later they turn it on. Winston gives a good luck charm to Leo, and the Turtles bid farewell to the Ghostbusters. The Turtles then land behind Master Splinter, and he is surprised about how the Turtles and their friends appeared so suddenly. They hug Master Splinter and rejoice they return to their home. Back in the Ghostbusters universe, the team is discussing what to do with Chi-Yu, and Winston suggests throwing him into the deep ends of the universe, and they do so. At the end of this comic issue, we see Chi-Yu trapped in the ghost trap, but this time he senses his brethren nearby and waits patiently for his release. Marvelous verdict. Generally, crossover events are just for fun, and the things that happen during these events don't have much impact on the overall storyline of any of the series. But this time, it was different. For Ghostbusters, the teleportation device they created during this event played an important role in their Get Real storyline, where the Ghostbusters meet the real version of themselves. For the TMNT, Chi-Yu remains trapped until he is saved by Kitsune, who brings him back to fight the Rat King. Although we expect to see many crossover events in the TMNT, this crossover remains our favorite for the time being. With that being said, if you like our content, do like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.